I'm so excited to be here with Cara, founder and creator of Soul House. Stay tuned for an intriguing conversation about why you have aha moments in the shower, how meditation, yoga, and Reiki can help you self-heal, and practices for better sleep and pain management versus popping pills. Hey, Cara, it is great to be talking to you today.
Nice to talk to you as well, Stephanie.
So, I know you're an expert in meditation, among other things, and I'd love to ask you, if it's hard to carve out time or space to meditate. If you were giving a beginner tips, what are one or two tips you would share on how to get started with meditation?
Sure. This is actually one of my favorite questions. So to create space for meditation, it's actually pretty simple. The first thing I would recommend is to habit stack. So if you have any type of routine that you do every single morning, like most people will wake up and drink a glass of water, drink coffee, or drink tea, to add in your meditation time with something that you already do routinely, like a ritual. And then just to carve out 1 to 2 minutes to start. So if you wake up every morning like me, I have a cup of coffee, and I just started my meditation regimen by sitting down, enjoying my coffee, and then breathing for 2 minutes. And that was it. And then you can kind of slowly add on. So set an alarm to breathe for 2 minutes. Everybody can do 2 minutes a day and just observe how it impacts your whole day. And then if you want to keep going, add on to 3, add on to 5 minutes, and just slowly build. But to get started, tack it on with something you're already doing.
I love that. I was actually just saying that to somebody the other day. She was telling me it was so hard for her to feel like she had the space and time to meditate and that it had to be a whole thing. And I said, sometimes I'll put on a meditation on Spotify and I'll listen to it and have it guide me through breathing while I'm doing the dishes or washing my face in the morning, because I'm already doing something, but it's just a way to become more mindful and pay more attention to my breath and what's going on. So
Exactly. And I love that you said something that you do, like dishes, right? So if you're already doing an activity that just is mindless movement, that's actually a meditation. That's why so many people have these aha moments in the shower, because you're just like, okay, I'm going to wash my hair, I'm going to do conditioner. It's automatic. And that allows you to tap into really going beyond the mind, the ego mind that puts you in fight or flight.
So many good things for us to dig into today. Well, hey everybody, I'm Stephanie Morimoto. I'm the owner and CEO of Astra, and I'm so happy to be in conversation today with Cara. Cara, I'd love for you to share more about who you are and what you're an expert in.
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. My name is Cara, and I'm really an expert in what I call the subtle body. So being able to perceive and go beyond what's right in front of you physically. And what that means is being able to manage your energy from a mind, body, soul perspective. And I'm the creator of a company called Soul House. It is really rooted in mind, body, and soul health, and using more of energetic and Eastern healing methods to find and establish balance.
I love that. Well, as you know, at Asutra, we're all about taking care of yourself on purpose, mind, body, and soul. So I love that you talk about all of those things integrating. Can you share more about what that might look like every day for somebody? How do you take care of all three aspects of yourself?
Sure. So that can be a tricky question because our world is so focused on what we can see in the physical. We talk about, what we wear, putting on makeup, and how we look. But really, there's so much more that's deeper that's going on. There's a science to the subtle body, and what we see is this physical shell. And there are even 7 layers beyond that. So you have an emotional layer, you have a mental layer, you have your communication layer around speaking, you have your heart layer that's really integrated with your soul. And so when you're looking at balance between all of these different levels, you really need to establish a connection within so that you have this deeper relationship to yourself outside of what you may appear physically.
And I know in addition to meditation, you teach yoga, you do
Yes.
Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
How do practices like yoga, Reiki, meditation help with taking care of your mind, your body, and your soul?
Yeah. So what's interesting about yoga, for example, is that it actually started as a philosophy and then as a meditation. And the way that it's applied in the Western world is really asana focused, and that means movement that's physical. And so that really is the first layer, is that it gets us into our body, and that's really important to be doing movement. But what gets people coming back again and again, where people get hooked on yoga, it's not really the physical. If you're going to do that, you can go running, you can go ride a bike. Those are really beautiful things. But there's a deeper integration with pranayama, with breath, with life force. And that's really what it, prana, we have these elements, right? We have air, which is prana, which is life force. And that is what we need to bring balance and energy into our body. So when there's an area of pain or discomfort, if something's going on, what do? You hold your breath, and that is sustaining what's keeping us alive. And so there's this like deeper layer that's going on beyond the physical. And so what gets people really balanced with yoga is that, yes, it can be a physical way that gets them in the door, but it's allowing them to go deeper and deeper into their breath. And sometimes people will talk about, I just started crying in a yoga class and I have no idea why. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, it's so interesting listening to you say this because I'm reliving different yoga experiences in my mind and my memories as I'm listening to you describe this. You know, for me, to be honest, after burning out, there was so much I didn't do to take care of myself physically
Mm-hmm.
that I think I tend to be much more focused on how do I take care of my physical well-being, and then I
Sure.
layer on the mental and the spiritual and the emotional sort of on top of that. But to your point with yoga, it is something that with practice, you can feel all of those things coming
Yeah.
together in an integrated way. So for me, yes, I do love the physical aspect of it. I love the mobility and the
Mm-hmm.
stretching and the strength that comes with it. And then what I find is when I have a great teacher like you who
Thank you.
reminds you to breathe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then frankly, you're doing this crazy pose where you have to keep your balance and you're trying to keep steady breath. You have to be present, right? You
Exactly.
have to be mindful because if you get distracted, you'll literally topple over. And if you
Exactly.
aren't breathing, it's really harder to hold the physical
Mm-hmm.
pose. So it's really interesting because it's like your mind has to be present, your breath has to be
Mm-hmm.
going, that life energy force. Um, you can't be distracted, and you're in the physical pose. And when all those things come together, it just feels good. It feels like it was sort of meant to be, which is cool.
That's right. It's an intersection. So the word yoga is Sanskrit for yoking, for union. And it really is that union of mind, body, and soul. And the only way to establish that is through presence, is through breath. And it really allows us to go beyond the limitations of the mind, right? If you are not breathing or thinking about what you're going to have for dinner when you're doing yoga, it's a lot harder to get into crow pose. But if you are fully present and breathing and it just sort of happens, you're there. And that's really what life is about.
Yeah, exactly. How can you sort of bring yourself back into the moment that you're in and
Exactly.
live it fully? Well, I Well, I do have one question. I was going through a tough time in life. It was a lot going on at work and personally. This is a number of years ago. And I did this hip opener yoga class. And
Mm-hmm.
to your earlier point, I'm doing all these hip openers, and all of a sudden I just started sobbing on the mat. I mean, I had
Yeah.
no idea why. Out of nowhere, I just started crying. What is that about?
So I love that you had this experience. Congratulations. That's a big release. Great job. So what happens is we have all of the experiences that we've had in our lifetime or even in past lives. And I very much believe that we are souls that live different lifetimes, multiple lifetimes. It's carried on within us. So we have an imprint. And when you are fully present, when you are breathing, and when you're really in what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, out of the fight or flight survival mode, we have this natural ability just to heal ourselves. And we don't actually need to know what is healing. And the interesting thing about how we heal is that obviously you cannot change the experiences that have happened to you, but you can change the association with it. And so our emotional body, that I know you're familiar with the chakra system. The chakra system is really just our energetic layers, where I mentioned there's 7 layers to our field. There's 7 chakras. And our emotional body sits in our second chakra, which is our sacral chakra. And that's really ruled by the hips. And so we have a lot of feeling in this area of the body. And if you're doing a lot of hip opening and you're crying, that's also related to the element of water, which is associated with sacral chakra. You're really in tune with that area and you're releasing something. And again, you don't need to know what it is, but crying is an automatic release. It's like a shedding of a layer from your system.
Okay, so let's talk more about that, about not needing to know what it is to heal yourself.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the body knows what to do, or the system knows what to do. Let's think of, well, let's talk about love. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? What happens is there's this, when you think about kind of like being in a relationship and getting out of a difficult relationship, there's this need to analyze. Like as human beings, we are really focused in our minds, particularly in the Western world. And so we like to analyze what happened. So you may go over and over again what happened in a breakup. And to an extent, it can be beneficial for understanding, but after a while, it becomes a swirl, right? And sometimes you don't need to know the details of what occurred for you. You just need to experience it or to release it. The soul is the one who's really learning the lesson, not the mind. And that's why you don't need to know it. So, yeah. And if you think about it from the standpoint of what I teach at Soul House, I really talk about soul theory, which is, you can say it's kind of spirituality, but it's really the fundamental belief that we are souls. And by a soul, I mean we're all part of the universe of source, whatever you believe created everything that's here. So think about us being a star, a golden star that's part of the sky. That's each person has that golden star that makes up source or the sky, right? And so that is everlasting. And when we come into a human body, we're here to learn a particular lesson that our soul wants to learn. And it's all about love, but it's the soul's journey. It is the soul's blueprint for this lifetime. And we, because we are physical, because we are embodied, there's this natural inclination to try and look at what's right in front of us, to try to understand everything with the mind. But it's the soul that needs to learn and to release, not the mind. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And you're actually helping me almost make sense of a sutra's mission in a different way.
Ooh.
When we began creating a sutra 5 years ago, we set this mission of active self-care. We want to help you take care of yourself on purpose, holistically, mind, body, soul, so that you can really feel and be your best in this world. And our belief is that if you feel and are able to be your best, you're going to be a great friend, family member, community member, leader in your community, in your world. And obviously we do that by selling products that help with pain relief or mood or sleep, but also sharing tips and education like this.
Yeah.
But the other thing we talked about is how our products at a sutra are so experiential. They have a feel to them. They have a smell to them. You create a small ritual by using them, right? Massaging in magnesium oil or melatonin magnesium lotion at night, or smelling something which causes you to breathe more deeply and slow yourself down. So it's really cool to hear you talk about how your soul experiences things without thinking about it, but that experience in and of itself can help you heal. Because I think that's in part what we're trying to help people do through our products and tips at a sutra.
Exactly. So I think it's that makes you more dynamic than just having a physical product. When you have an experience with it, that's going to tap into the layers that go beyond the physical, so that you can get into the soul healing, which is
Let's talk about soul healing, because I was so fortunate and grateful to have a Reiki session with you last week. And to be honest, I'm still processing the whole thing. But to your point about your soul feeling something and just experiencing the sensations, there were so many sensations that I experienced. But for people who may not be familiar with it, how would you describe what Reiki is?
Sure. So, and it just kind of in everyday terms, I describe Reiki as like a massage for your energy field or for your soul. So it allows you to go into deep relaxation and to have an experience that's beyond the physical, even though it heals on all levels. It's very similar in a way to acupuncture, where acupuncture uses needles to put into meridian points, these different pressure points in your body. Um, and they do that to balance your chi, your energy, to bring you into this natural state of ease. Reiki uses hands-on touch and really intuitive guidance to balance your energy and to bring it back into really what your soul's blueprint is. So the word Reiki is comprised of two different forms, where Rei is the Japanese word for divine intelligence, or what I was describing earlier as source, right? And then ki is energy, it's chi. And so Reiki is using this divine intelligence. So what we go beyond the mind, when you just kind of have this natural instinct to know where to be at the right place at the right time, it's using that guidance to balance your energy and to bring you back into your natural state of flow and of ease. And as the receiver, you can have a really meditative experience. And a lot of people report seeing colors or having aha moments, seeing images of people or of symbols, and really kind of bringing you back into this like higher perspective, if you will.
What do you find people do Reiki for? You know, why are they coming to receive Reiki?
It's interesting. There's a whole spectrum of what people come to do Reiki for. Um, some people are just guided to it. They're like, I don't really know what it is, but it just feels right. And so kind of that sentiment of being in the right place at the right time. A lot of people, and I myself, got into Reiki to actually balance and to manage physical pain. So Reiki heals on all levels, but a lot of pain that we have, I very much respect Western medicine. And there are people who will come, and I got into Reiki because I had a physical injury in my back. And so I was going through physical therapy. I was just doing some pain management when I got started. And I was like, I think that there's something deeper that needs to be worked through. And I got into Reiki for pain in my back and found out that there's just this deeper level of association, or even things that we talked about that we don't even need to know, that are needing to be released, that I couldn't work through physical therapy. And it wasn't about getting rid of the pain, it's about really healing. And so what's beautiful about Reiki is that it has the ability to really work through what we were talking about, where to work through deep healing, where it's not going to change whatever experience led to a physical pain, but it can change the association that you have from trauma. So it kind of gets you to that point of, we talked about relationships. If you're getting out of a relationship, it can get you to that point of feeling liberated, of learning the lesson that you were supposed to learn from a relationship, versus kind of sitting in the hurt of it, without needing to take a medication that kind of numbs the pain but doesn't quite heal it. So people really come for deep healing. People come because they're interested in experiencing something that is really beyond the physical, that gets them into more of that meditative state. There's a whole spectrum. And there are a lot of people that come that want to just grow their spiritual connection and their intuitive arm. So I find that, or people report to me that as they experience Reiki and as they are trained in Reiki, I also offer Reiki trainings, that they are able to kind of know what's going to happen before it's going to happen, and really be connected to their intuitive body. So it allows for spiritual growth, which is beautiful.
That's awesome. Well, it's also really interesting. It was an aha moment for me when I learned that physical pain in your body could really be caused by, you know, past traumas or emotional traumas, spiritual traumas that are then manifesting in physical ways. And we're huge fans of to your point, totally respect Western medicine and science, absolutely. And we know from research that popping ibuprofen, popping pain pills all the time is also not good for your health long term.
Yep.
So I love finding and sharing with people other ways that you can manage your pain or even heal your pain so that you don't have to be taking those pills all the time or for the rest of your life. I have a couple more questions for you. I want to end on some sleep stuff because everybody loves to get a good night's sleep. And
Yes.
we've talked about how meditation and such can help us sleep. But before we get to that, one other thing that I think is really interesting about you is you had a real pivot point in your life, right? You were doing something totally different. And I bring this up because you mentioned you got into Reiki because you had a back injury. But can you share with people a little bit, what were you doing before and how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Sure. So I do feel like everything takes, my life has taken a full circle where I studied philosophy and went to grad school thinking I was going to be a philosophy professor. And that really fits in more with what I'm doing now of just the study of life and metaphysics. But I pivoted from that and got into ad tech. I worked at Google for 5 years and lived in New York and had a very corporate lifestyle and really enjoyed that work hard, play hard mentality in my 20s. And that led me to having a back injury where one day I just woke up and had shooting pain in my back, didn't really know why. And it was because I wasn't taking care of myself. But I wasn't fully awakened at that point to what I'm doing now. That's what led me into yoga. But I stayed working in the tech world. I worked for Twitter and then kind of made my way to working at smaller companies in still tech where I could have more work-life balance and integrate things like yoga that were helping support my body. And that allowed me to go and understand more about mental health, emotional health. And finally, I was just like, you know what? I really care about establishing a lifestyle where I can support other people and finding balance in their life. And that's why I now do Reiki and intuitive guidance and yoga full time, but still integrate very much my corporate background in being an entrepreneur and managing a business. So you need to have it all. And I think that that's really important because there's so much education right now around mindfulness, around Eastern wellness, which is this beautiful way to really heal and to put natural medicine into our body. But there is still a purpose to work and to drive, but it coming from the heart, the soul, not the ego. And that's what I'm really passionate about teaching, and had to go through that full circle to get there.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the full circle. That's an awesome journey. So you and I also talked about the importance of sleep for taking care of your mind, body, and soul. As you know, I'm a huge fan of what I call the power down hour, at least 1 hour at night to start to wind down, do things that relax me, and signal to my mind and body that it's time for rest, it's time for sleep. What's a good meditation practice, perhaps, to integrate into a power down hour?
Yeah. So first of all, I love the concept of the power down hour and that you're putting so much passion behind it. Just real quick, the importance of powering down and meditating before you go to sleep. It's not just to promote great sleep, but it's also to bring you into the state of being connected with your soul. When you're still thinking about everything that you need to do the next day, you're in your mind and you're in the ego side. When you're able to get out of the mind, then you are able to get into a deep sleep. And we talk about this like trend of manifesting, of being able to call in the best life that you're working towards. And that's driven by your soul. And your soul, when you're sleeping, is making contracts with people that are going to help you manifest. So just kind of tying in a little bit of the soul science behind why it's important to be able to rest before you go to sleep. And to get there, I also recommend habit stacking. If you're going to bed and you're washing your face at night, if you're using an Astra product, I love your pain away. I'll use that at night. And kind of breathe in the certain area that I'm placing the magnesium around it, an injury to send a little bit more prana there. The importance of just kind of breathing deeply at night is taking you out of the fight or flight that we're in of the day that's telling us everything that we need to do, and allowing for that integration of mind, body, and spirit so that the soul can get to work.
I love that. I love that. Well, let's talk a bit about magnesium. So, as we know, magnesium is really great for over 300 healthy body functions. It helps with everything from your brain to your heart to your blood to muscle recovery to a sense of calm, which helps a lot of people sleep. Aside from Asutra's Melt Pain Away Magnesium Body Butter, do you use magnesium in any other form?
I don't. I think I'm just like the sutra junkie.
I love it. Topical use is great. You can target it right from that area, your arm, your back, your knee, as you were talking about, and send some healing power there. So that is really great. So you mentioned that there's a reason people have aha moments in the shower. Can you explain why is that?
So a shower is essentially a moving meditation. When we talk about even yoga, right, the yoga sun salutations are integrating mind, body, and spirit by using breath to lead a repetitive movement. So you're folding forward, you're doing a halfway lift, you're folding forward, rising up, all linked to your breath again and again. It's like a record on repeat, but it allows the mind to kind of go to the back burner and the breath and the presence that you were talking about, the state of being present, to come forward. So an activity like showering every day is just a habit. It's a ritual. You get in the shower and you're doing repetitive movement, turning on the faucet. You don't have to think about it. Everybody has now we have modern technology that just says, I want 98 degrees for my shower, or whatever you have it at. You don't have to think about what you're setting up. It's already there for you. So it's really that repetitive motion that is bringing you into that state of ease. And the state of ease is what's key for bringing forth the aha moments. But there is an added element to that, and that's water. Water is purifying. It's cleansing. You talked about your hip opening yoga class that you start crying. That's water being released to you and purifying your system. So while the shower is a moving meditation, much like riding a bike or even going for like an easy walk, those are all moving meditations, surfing, moving meditation. But you have the added element of water coming in and purifying you, which is beautiful.
Wow. I feel like I just had aha moments in that conversation. That's amazing. So Cara, I know you're an Astra fan. What are some of your favorite Astra products and how do you use them?
Well, obviously, as a yogi and a yoga instructor, I absolutely love your mat cleaner. I always find it interesting when studios and people are just rubbing down Clorox wipes all over their mats. That makes me cringe. I don't want to have chemicals on the space of a really natural and organic practice. So thank you for creating something that is clean. It's so important what we put into our bodies, just as what we eat is important. The products that we use are also being absorbed in the air. We're breathing it. It's in our prana. We talked about the importance of life force. So, and you also have that nice little lavender in there that helps to promote the calm for the practice. So it's always nice to smell that. I went to Pride and got glitter in my hair and then practiced. And so I have glitter on my mat and lavender smell from your product. And it just makes me feel perfect. So thank you.
Magical yoga.
Yes, magical yoga. But my favorite Astra product is the Pain Away. That's the magnesium, right? The technology.
The body butter. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I love that. And I like to just kind of rub it on an area of discomfort. I mentioned that I have pain in my back. So a lot of times I'll place it in my low back or even on like my knee if something's bothering me. And then I'll cup my hands over it. And that's kind of a Reiki thing where you're just, and anybody can do this, by the way. So we all have natural healing powers within us. But just to kind of like amplify all of the goodness that's already in the Pain Away product with the magnesium, I'll cup my hands over it and take a couple of deep breaths and try to isolate my breath into the area of where I placed it. And that just kind of supports, I think, the healing process around it. But it really does work. I feel that the pain or the discomfort goes away in like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I do like to do that as part of my nighttime ritual before I go to bed, just to kind of send ease to my body for the day, and also send gratitude to the body for all that it's done.
I love that. Great. Well, Cara, thank you so much for speaking with us today. What an incredible conversation about practices like meditation, yoga, Reiki for taking care of your soul, and therefore for taking care of your mind and body as well. If you like this video, please like it, comment, tell us what you liked, and subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for listening.